Evil, a TV series released in fall 2019, created by Robert King and his wife Michelle King, who are both writers and producers. One of their previous works was The Good Wife, which apparently was highly praised, but I've personally never seen it, but I have heard of it. This show is a CBS All Access TV series. I recently just finished binge watching this show during their 1-month free trial, so if you're interested in checking it out after this review, you might want to take advantage of that as well. So Evil is a mystery supernatural suspense with some comedy elements, thinking along the lines of a show like Supernatural. So the show follows our main character, a skeptical female clinical psychologist who joins a priest in training and a blue-collar contractor as they investigate the church's supposed miracles, demonic possessions, and other extraordinary occurrences to see if there's a scientific explanation behind these occurrences or if these things are just truly supernatural. So as a quick rundown on our three main characters, first we have Dr. Kristen Bouchard, which is our psychologist and who's also an atheist. She's grown bored of her normal career and has found a new interesting career challenge working alongside David and the church. Next, we have David Acosta, who's the priest in training and a believer in the supernatural, but also doesn't shy away from facts and scientific proof, which is why he seeks help from Kristen. And last but not least, we have Ben Shakir, who is a non-believer in the supernatural, but assisting David as a friend and IT contractor of the church. So Evil explores several topics ranging from politics and substance abuse to racial discrimination and sexism. As you may imagine, it wouldn't be very difficult to incorporate demonic forces into these topics, especially those relating to prejudice or hatred. And within each of these topics, they are assessed through religion and science, which creates a very compelling discourse amongst our characters. And this is where the show really prevails in my opinion. Evil does a good job at presenting you with a situation that seems to be clearly a paranormal occurrence, and it allows us as viewers to become very relaxed in our acceptance of these conclusions, that this was just a ghost sighting or a demonic possession and that a priest should now get involved to perform an exorcism. But then the show goes, well hold on, wait, our psychologist who analyzes the situation and decides that it looks more like split personality disorder with other underlying symptoms, and then our contractor who's very familiar with camera and projector technology decides that the ghost sightings were just holograms or something like that. Honestly, it's basically a modern reimagining of Scooby-Doo.
Yes, might have gotten away with it too. It wasn't for these blasted kids and their dog.
Without Scooby, which isn't a bad thing in this case because it works, but an interesting correlation nonetheless. And unlike Scooby-Doo, our characters display strong dynamic relationships where their beliefs create emotional friction and hurdles for them as a team. And it's nice that we get to see how they overcome these disagreements. And in my opinion, when you have to work with someone and your views about science versus religion are very different, you have to be working around very intelligent, open-minded colleagues to reach some sort of middle ground to prevent toxicity and continue to focus on the task at hand. Now, of course, this is just a TV show and they don't get too deep into those types of arguments, but they touch on those things enough to acknowledge the conversation. Now, personally, I haven't invested time in a show of this genre in a while that focuses on procedural storytelling since something like the Supernatural series, which I enjoyed by the way, but then I find myself needing a break from the endless storytelling. But this show seems to bring forth ideas from a perspective that I'm personally not used to seeing in these types of genres. You usually tend to see elements that drag you into a supernatural setting and how the characters deal with whatever the hurdle is from that perspective. But this show changes the perspective, which in return changes the obstacle, and it may leave you having an ambivalent stance on the situation. I think this show has a lot of potential given the controversial topics they touch on, but I can't help thinking that the main characters who are skeptics will begin to lose their grounds for a rational argument once the story's supernatural elements begin to become undeniable, which I feel like they'll have to do to keep the viewers intrigued instead of knowing what to expect during the next 50 exorcisms and having our non-believers rule them out as schizophrenia each time, especially when the victims are climbing on the fucking ceiling or some crazy shit like that.
Jesus, she's burning up. How's that possible? She's been dead for an hour.
I don't give a fuck how long she been dead. The bitch just walked on the ceiling.
But I won't get ahead of myself because the show isn't there yet, so we'll see where things end up next season. So overall, I give Evil a 4 out of 5. It was creepy and fun, and it doesn't take itself too seriously, even when covering sensitive topics. Also, I like the fact they acknowledge issues in today's society that should be discussed more. So there you have it. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo!